Welcome to Rem and Sam. We are back again with another guest from the Bay Area. Someone would say our college sports expert. I don't know. We're bringing in
Mm.
experts. It's that time of year. March is here. March Madness is here, and of course, we had to bring in someone probably a lot more knowledgeable on college sports than us. We haven't done too great of research on it, so thank you for joining the pod, Alli.
So nice to meet y'all. Thank you so much for having me, Rem and Sam, and just excited to dive in tonight.
Alli, it's super nice to meet you. I know we're recording this live during March Madness right now. I think all of us are keeping an eye on the Duke game. I know Sam said he picked Duke to win in his bracket. I don't big reveal. Is your bracket still doing okay? Like we said Friday night, is there a lot of red on the bracket yet?
My bracket is destroyed. However, if you are following the brackets of some current NFL pros, Bijan Robinson's bracket
Hmm.
is one of the only left in the nation to perfectly predict the current lineup and who's left. So let's keep it rolling and hope Bijan wins it all for all of us.
I know we're gonna have to figure out a way to get eyes on his bracket next year because on ESPN you could see if you did a bracket you could see some of those celebrity brackets. So I don't know if like Bijan's was one of the options because they had like Stephen A. They had a Biden bracket on there. I don't know if Bijan was like peeking off the Biden bracket. Did somebody check out the Biden bracket? Who
Not
did you
yet.
have?
No,
I
look it
don't know.
up.
Who did you have winning? Who'd you have winning it all? Who's your big pick?
For men,
Yeah.
unfortunately, my pick lost last night.
Oh,
So yeah,
did you take Kentucky?
I did.
I had
Sadly.
Auburn.
Oh no.
So like we said, this is fresh. I mean, this one just
Yeah.
happened a couple hours ago. I don't know. Did you? Me and Sam weren't really locked in on the college basketball season. Definitely the men's, not as much as the women's. Was there something going on in the SEC that all these teams are
Uh,
dropping early?
I just think that the SEC was focusing a lot of their NIL budget on one sport versus the other in this past year. So might have
Mm.
had some ramifications on the men's basketball side of things.
Do you think that's
And
been? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
Oh no, and I was about to say that this is not the first year Kentucky has shocked everyone by losing early, having a couple of first and second round exits, I think the last 4 years, and now, Calipari being on the hot seat. But I mean, Allie, the two guards are like two of the top prospects in the nation. Like, it totally makes sense to pick them. I mean, did you see the game last night? I mean, I know it was pretty much I can't remember his name, but the Oakland shooter just pretty much shot
Yeah.
the lights out, right?
I did not watch the game. I was on a flight home from New York. All I saw was the headline update when I landed, and was like, of course. But I will say, I know that Calipari has been on the hot seat many a time, but his track record is still so, superb when it comes to getting his
Mm.
talent into NBA spots. So I feel like that heat, while it may be deserved, it's not really the trajectory of where Kentucky is going, or even how I would say they've measured their own success as a program in the last few years. I think like championships are cool, but I do think their focus has been getting their talent prepared for that NBA level. So I still think he's safe, but we'll see come end of the turning time to see what the end implication will be for his career prospects and coaching at Kentucky.
Do you see him as just safe for this season, or do you see him as safe for like, yeah, but he's going to be there however long, he wants to be there and assume, obviously if it gets bad, then there's going to be a change. But do you
Yeah, I would.
see this
Yeah.
like trend continuing?
I mean, I see the latter, not the former. I think he'll be there as long as he wants to be there, and that may be counter to what media perspectives are saying at the moment, but he's done so much for that basketball program, and I think as long as everyone's getting kind of what they need out of it, and then he's getting into the March Madness tournament and at least getting there, I don't think a couple down years are going to be the end of all be all. But I will say that if we can't see some more player development coming out, then we can start to sound the alarms for his career aspects.
Would that be the biggest thing that you say has been the difference that has, caused them to not make those deep runs? Like what has been the reason that they've slipped a little bit?
Yeah, I think that when your emphasis is on starting freshmen that are all top, not miss #1 NBA draft prospects, sometimes you lose some of that continuity and some of that value of having that balance of more senior leadership and more of that leadership in the locker room. And I'd say that the teams that have struck lightning never had that balance either, to be fair, particularly under his leadership. So I do want to see, like, what will this mean for potentially developing and impacting the way that he builds his rosters moving forward, and particularly if that hot seat continues to get hotter.
It's just been it's because a lot of people, especially like today, we're saying they lost yesterday, so it's a lot of like the initial reaction, the instant reaction to this. And I know they were talking a lot about it on First Take, and just a lot of people have been saying that he needs to. They were saying he needs to get back to like old Calipari. I know, was it who's the guy on one of the older coaches on ESPN? Is it Greenberg? Is that the right name? Seth Greenberg? He was saying he needs to like get back to old Calipari and be tough. And but there was like, hey, do we need to get seniors? Do we need to start recruiting older guys? Like, do we need to get back to playing this game? And Coach Cal has like never done that. All of his main teams that he's had have basically always been built around these big freshmen. Even going back to the Memphis team, like Derrick Rose was a freshman in his run, and then when he gets to Kentucky, I mean, the John Wall team, like you just go, it's changeover every year. It's always freshmen, and I still think his recruiting classes compared like to other, like he still is able to recruit at a high level. So I think you're right. There has been something with the player development where, and even as an NBA prospects, these guys, like Sam was saying, these are the top 2 college prospects in the draft as at this point. But there has been, I think, a little slip there because he's still doing the same thing. I don't think anything has changed. And I don't think, again, like the off-court success has all still been the same for him. But with the recruiting, it just has been, that player development. And I think, maybe he is just focused a little bit too much on the money right now. I know Stephen A was calling him out for that as well.
I mean, it's so many incredible points there, but I would say, Rem, the biggest kind of hit here is if he wants to compete in today's NIL world, which is completely different from the world he inherited when he first joined Kentucky, I think it might be probably a best start to start with just the transfer portal, because the portal itself might be a great source to really start solidifying, adding some of that like leadership in the locker room, some of those folks that have been attorneys before, folks that have, may not be the previous teams like top scorer and top producer, but maybe they have a stronger defensive philosophy or can, really rally guys behind him and them. And I think, time to see if we can leverage the transfer portal the way that, say, some of our college football coaches have. And then vice versa, right? You see in college football coaches that have left the coaching ranks a lot in this season because they don't want to play this NIL game, transfer portal game, i.e. the Nick Sabans of the world, i.e., we got Chip Kelly leaving UCLA to literally take a demotion to just be an offensive coordinator against Ohio State coming up this fall. So it's like, is he ready to play that management game and that roster management game? I think that will determine whether or not he stays longer term with Kentucky. So I hope he responds to some of the feedback and can incorporate it. But we'll see, because if he's sticking to his laurels, like, we're no longer in a world where you can just start freshmen and hope for the best. It's not. We are not there anymore. So I'm excited to see how he can hopefully evolve and grow from that.
Who would you say has been more successful the last couple of years, him or Izzo? Because those are like the top two guys right now. And again, I was going back and looking through some of Izzo's team, and Izzo, he wins another game in the tournament. Everybody is crowning him again as, like, especially now with Coach K out, as sort of like the top college basketball guy. But you go look through his last couple of teams, like his last 4 teams have all finished out. They haven't finished ranked in the AP poll. He's been a 11 seed, 7 seed, 7 seed, and 9 seed. But again, he's winning in the tournament, so he's having a little bit more post-season success than Coach Cal. But again, as the top 2 guys, it's not like Izzo's out there getting Final Fours and championships. So even if you just look at the landscape and go, Cal is still amongst the best, I still think as the top 2 guys, do you think Izzo has necessarily had a more successful run the last couple of years than Coach Calipari? Because I feel like people have viewed it more favorably.
No, I haven't. I like to judge on championships. So I think Izzo has had a historic run and a legendary run and a run that will probably not be matched. However, if I'm judging based on championships,
Yeah.
I still think our head coach at Kentucky barked tradition early, and that really paid some dividends in his coaching championships and that pro S, because I would argue his freshmen and those top freshmen were all ready for the NBA. They are
Mm,
all about a lot of his phenom for net freshmen have been winning championships in the NBA. Like it, the path is
yeah.
working. Don't don't break it, and if it's not, don't fix it if it's not broken, I would say. And I just want to see if he can leverage that transfer portal. I think that will be a really good, hopefully foundation solution to really balance that like development aspect. And maybe he can take a look back at his assistant coaches and see if there's anyone else that he can
Mm,
kind of up and add on the market, on the roster, that's going to be a little bit more crucial and critical to that player development. Because I will say, Izzo, while I will rank Mr. Kentucky coach as the number one here, I think Izzo has a legendary track record of player development, and particularly recruiting players that fit his system. There's a mentality with Michigan State, what you're
mm,
going to get time. You have to play defense. That defense is going to tire you out. The fundamentals are going to be incredible. I would compare Izzo's teams to a well-coached Spurs team back in the day. That's just like
mm.
back in the day, you was not sexy, it was not fun. You didn't want to watch a Spurs game, but you knew that you were going to be in a 12 bound
Yeah.
fight. Like you were
Yeah.
going to be there for 12 rounds, and it was just incredible fundamental basketball. And so I think Mr. Izzo will always be that. But let's see if we can get some more championships. I don't know. Don't know if that might be the case.
And I know we mentioned a little bit of Ohio State football and their coaching, and I think at the end of this past year, with them losing the big game in the way they did to Michigan, a lot of people were calling for Ryan Day's job, and I think we do also have a similar situation here with Calipari, where he is talented at very, very talented in certain parts of his job, and other parts it may be a little bit lacking. And it's like, what are the alternatives? Who are you going to go out there and hire that's going to be so much more elite that takes some levels ahead? But I guess what question I wanted to ask you, because tender that you're hoping to win, other teams are you looking at to make a deep run, or what teams should we stay away from? Because I know they always do those second chance brackets
Mm.
on these programs. So who's
True.
the contenders?
Uh, let me reevaluate and answer that question by the end of tonight. I think after
All right.
tonight's results, I'll have a better sound opinion on that one. But it's been so surprising. I would say
Yeah.
in terms of like a bracket busting year, this is probably the biggest. I know they say that every year, but like I think every bracket is out. Like I think like more brackets are out this year than last year after the first half of the first round. So let me come back to you on that one after next week's scores and reporting. I'll give you a few of my dark horses to make it to the final as well.
I
And
think we can get.
yeah. Oh, what was that?
I was gonna say I think we can get a live update on the bracket, because I know in the March Madness app they were tracking the amount of perfect brackets. So 23.
Yeah.
23 perfect brackets left, and we're not even done with round one yet at the time we're recording this.
Yeah.
Yes, like I said, when emphasis on the madness, this one has been, and I just really think that like I just think like transfer portal, what's happening in the NIL world, like there's been even more of an equilibrium, I really think, like playing out in the college basketball world, and we're seeing that in real time. Like you cannot state that our traditional horses are the ones that will always be there anymore in a world where if you have a great recruiting prowess set up, a great NIL collective set up, a great program for player development, these coaches and these players and their families and AAU coaches and all of their, folks in their community have many more options, as opposed to like the 6 to 7 to 10 schools that have been great at recruiting for the past 40 years. So I think we're going to see more of a level playing field like this moving forward, especially in men's college basketball.
Yeah, it was really crazy for me, like going through the teams, trying to figure out like the bracket picks again, just looking at the rosters and looking at the histories of the guys, where every guy now was 2 or 3 teams. And even the starters on like the Power Five schools. I mean, you still had Kentucky was like the freshman and all that, but a lot of the Power Five schools now where it was the guy who was a 5th year, 4th year senior, 3 years at a smaller school, guy that came from a community college or whatever. And yeah, like you're saying, the way that has leveled out the playing field, I think that has been the biggest thing for like busting, like, because I mean, some of the stats and grades on these teams was like the 12 and the 13 seeds were, I don't want to say better than the teams above them, but it's like, okay, these teams are pretty much every bit as good. And I know the Oakland guy was saying that in his press conference afterwards as well, too. And, it can just be sometimes a team underdog mentality, but he was saying where like, yeah, on any given night, I know we can play with these guys. I get that they're going to be NBA talent, but with what we're playing right now, we can hang. So I think that's a great point, saying that the transfer portal has leveled out the playing field like that, because I definitely agree looking at the bracket.
Yeah, we're gonna keep saying that. I mean, like I said, we need to talk to Bijan and figure out how he figured out his bracket. Like, can we all just apply his strategy next year? Because
I know. Is it suspicious that he was like a rookie this year, so he was just in college? Like, does he know the guys?
that's I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Let's figure out his process when this
And that
tournament.
means, are the guys swaying it some way? Because we know there's scandals going on right now with gambling, and who knows? Maybe nobody should investigate the Bijan case. Maybe it's too much, and we don't want to look into it. Maybe it goes too deep.
I'm just impressed.
Or just like the cop in the town, we just have to look the other way. Just nope.
Just
Whatever's going on, just let it happen.
Love it.
Just let it be. But I do think that is an interesting kind of almost philosophy of college sports that we're starting to head to. And, thinking about the future of college sports is it a good thing that there is equality like this in sports? I know we, obviously look for equality in most things, but in terms of sports, I mean, we know, I think when we look past history, when college sports dominated major media, it's when teams like Duke, teams like the Blue Bloods would be so dominant and have these huge runs. When we look at college football, when it has the biggest ratings, it's like when Alabama and Clemson go back to back to back. When we have Georgia be repeat champions, and so. I mean, I guess that'd be a question to both of you, but yeah, obviously first for Alli, our expert. Is this good for college sports of having, now, kind of sifting of teams, anyone can be good. And we have UConn win the championship last year, and have not great ratings in the championship game.
So I can answer that first. In my perspective, this is going to be a controversial take, and that's fine. I think it's incredibly important that college sports reaches some amount of brevity. And I am not in support of the NCAA as an organization that has fought for or even enhanced the lives of student athletes. In college, I actually used to be a student athlete tutor, and I would go so far as to say that the NCAA went out of its way to ensure that as an organization financially that the NCAA would benefit far in advance of any of the actual athletes and the student behind the athletes that they supported. So I'm not a chaos agent per se, but I am pretty excited that the NCAA is being held accountable at the federal level with a number of these lawsuits coming out, with NIL really taking off and providing more of a final right and a great stab for name, image, and likeness rights. I think you're going to see a lot of students fighting for labor unions because we're going to need to reclassify what the student athlete is. The student athlete, I think over time will be classified as an employee of the university, just like the coaches and all of the staff hired by each of the different teams. And then there's also going to be Title IX implications as well. So I think with NIL really, again, providing such an incredible leveling of playing field for both men's and women's athletics, I think we're actually going to see the advancement of more women's athletics and more men's athletics where it makes sense for each school and how they can predict and determine, based on their budgets and what's going to win in their markets. I mean, one thing that I've been watching and really keeping a close eye on is, as the men's basketball viewers and ridership has been going down, women's basketball and college basketball and women's basketball is at an all-time high for viewership.
Yeah, the viewers didn't stop watching.
Yeah.
Not at all. And I want to, and it's just so beautiful to see because I was a young hooper growing up. I saw Kyla Pratt tell me that we got game next and that the WNBA was about to be a real awesome thing. And it's cool 30 years later to really see that starting to happen. And on the flip side, I think our college teams, I I really feel sorry for the number of Division 2 to 3 to 4 schools that are going to have to make some real decisions financially about whether or not they can field collegiate sports, because I do see, particularly in the college football realm, the top 25 schools with the NCAA no longer being a source for both
Hmm.
basketball and football, which are the revenue generating sports. I think you're going to see some, alignment of these super schools, alignment of budgets, agreement on who gets what TV deal where. And while NIL is really great for like leveling that playing field, I do think there needs to be some checks and balances, particularly when it comes to Divisions 2 through 3 and 4, et cetera, for just access to athletics, and making sure that like the depth of that access isn't hurt. While the NIL and while the age of the NCAA kind of, coming to an end is upon us. And does that mean we need commissioners for each school, for each sport? I think that's where we're going to end up heading. So excited to see like this all means, because the entire apparatus for college sports is really shifting and changing in real time right now within our generation, which is like something I thought I'd never see within my lifetime.
No, there's definitely a lot of great stuff there to unpack. But you mentioned that you were a tutor of students. What was your experience with the NCAA exactly?
Yeah, so I went to USC undergrad. While I was there, my school received the worst sanctions for football that a school has ever received, because Reggie Bush's period
Mm,
by the NCAA of accepting impermissible benefits. When it was really interesting because I tutored GE courses, writing courses, and also a number of like business courses to my group of student athletes. So I particularly covered the men's baseball team, the women's basketball team, the women's swimming and men's swim teams, the men's football team, and the men's and women's basketball teams. Like also track and field for men and women, which
yeah.
is amazing. But the biggest thing that I saw was like these students weren't getting any resources to pay their bills, to afford their housing, to make ends meet, to even get a meal outside of just like staying on campus to eat and literally asking people for free food and free resources. So
Mm,
like the conditions were marketed as such as if it was some sort of like illegal and terrible thing, but like the life of a student athlete back in 2006 through 10 when I was there was not a glamorous one. It wasn't cute. It's not fun. It's like, I see factors where, if someone's offering some resources to financially advance your life and career, you're going to take that in a world where the
yeah.
school's already exhausted its budget particularly for your sport and for your stipend to eat and to pay your rent. So, really excited to see like what this all means for ensuring that, again, the student part of that athlete equation really gets taken care of and allows an avenue for these athletes to thrive within their educational settings that they choose.
And
And
like you said too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tim.
yeah, I was just saying, I mean, and it's the disparity of how much the NCAA is making versus how much the student athlete is getting,
Yeah.
has been just increasing more and more with media rights getting into the billions easily. When you see how much money they're making, and then, you see, I think it was maybe last year, 2 years ago, where you see, the weights or the weight training that, some of the women's teams received at March Madness, things like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, these are the sports that we watch, that are on national television. And now there's all those other sports, like you had mentioned, swimming and track and stuff. So I guess putting it actually into a question, I mean, I guess how encouraging is it to see, even if it is a small victory, like where we have the college football game, some of the developers, they're offering $600 to each of the players to be featured, or with with them being paid, does it make a difference? Because there's a lot of people, on social media, only $600. Like, what is this? Or like, maybe they can get some money, but do they follow through on the contracts? Like, how much would it mean for the players that you were tutoring in the past to have the chance to make some kind of money?
I mean, it's huge. $600 to someone that's not getting any money is
Yeah.
big money. Like, yeah, like I really I think I would say it's not enough for the NCAA. I think the NCAA needs to do a few more things to kind of win over the graces of student athletes in this world and season. But I really do think that is I think the argument around it is $600 enough? No, of course it's not enough, but it's better than the zero that was already happening prior to that. And I think what the NCAA is doing is like kind of making a last ditch effort to say like, okay, well, let's start here. And I hope that's a starting bargaining chip rather than like the end point of where each athlete ends up, because yeah, $600 is a great start, but
I
it's
know.
not it's not going to be
Yeah.
what helps them pay their rent in LA or New York or these paying rent facilities in areas across the country. So I hope this is the start of that discussion and not the end of it.
Yeah, obviously you can't live off of a one-time $600 check, but if the NCAA wants to put me in the game for $600, I mean, I'll do it. Me and Sam, Rem and Sam in the game. Maybe we make it work. But you mentioned too that, like you're saying, with the last ditch effort for the NCAA, they're trying to recoup something. They're kind of falling apart a little bit. And if the NCAA is not going to be decision making and in charge, somebody has to be, I guess. And right now that responsibility is, like you're saying, falling on the federal government. And are you in favor of the government getting involved like that? Because again, I know it might have to just like, who does it fall on at that point? But are you in favor of that?
Not at the federal level.
Mm.
And I will say, if states wanted to come up with some sort of state, because if you look at the NIL laws in particular, they're really specific to state benefits per state. So I know California was one of the first states to pass NIL, but the different NIL laws that have been passed are really specific to the needs of those states. And so I'm a big proponent of, let's not make it overcrowded and over convoluted. But I think that at least at the state level, you should see some accountability, and particularly at the public university level, and then also at the like Division 2, 3, and 4, like public schools. Like, who's going to decide who gets funding for what? I think that is a state-based decision from a diplomacy and a litigation standpoint. So I do think, though, conversely, I think you are going to see more of these schools kind of at the private level hold and yield more of the bargaining chips for the media rights deals. And so I do think you're going to see like the creation of, it's called a chancellor of men's college basketball or women's college basketball, or name the Olympic sport at the federal level amongst a group of kind of top schools and programs that are going to be a pipeline and hopefully a better equipped and resourced pipeline for that Olympic training, particularly as the NCAA will move out of litigation and disputes. And again, that's the reason why I think you're going to see more of that at the state level, because the states will decide who gets litigated and why for when violations occur, which is, I think, something that we should see the state step up more in and be a part of, particularly when it comes to the student protections for those athletes.
The Olympic training is the underrated part of this, because like you're saying, with those Title IX sports going away, like that is our Olympic pipeline to develop talent. It is through those sports and through those universities. And for some sports, it can be because of the age, like it lines up for their career. But also, like we're saying, the universities have the resources to provide funds to actually for people to have access to those sports. But you're also saying that there might be some schools that need to make tough decisions with, with a certain timeline that this might go down. Is that just a necessary part of the new NIL world now? Or is there a new fix where, we could figure out a way to save it?
No, I think that is a necessary part of the new NIL world in particular. And with Olympic sports, this is going to be really interesting, because if you you dive into Olympic sports and it's kind of pipeline from the NCAA and collegiate aspect. I've noticed that if you look at the new ads for the NCAA, they really are harping on, particularly during this March Madness season, the pipeline to Olympics and how many Olympians come from the NCAA. And so I think that we are going to see hopefully a bit more of a shift of the importance of college sports as the United States pipeline for our Olympic fielded teams, particularly at the youth level, where it's really important that we have like those tracking mechanisms at a young level, because if we're going to stay competitive nationally,
Yeah.
in the Olympics, we need our Olympic sports and we need them at the collegiate level, because I kid you not, these other nations, won't name any names, but many of these other nations are recruiting these children from their homes, from their parents' home at like the age of 4 and up, and telling them you are going to be an athlete for your nation, and providing them with subsidies and training and all the resources up front at the federal government level for like Olympian in training. So we will not result to that in the United States because we have a democracy.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to see how college sports actually like really does start to supplement and help these student athletes achieve, particularly the ones that are Olympic qualifiers and have a great chance, really achieve that dream. And I think that there will be more resources available at the NIL level for that, because at least from what I remember, like the sponsorship opportunity, the training opportunity, the cost and development, it's so expensive, even when a college supports that athlete. Like if you are training and you are a professional athlete, and when you go professional in that sport, it then becomes such an expensive line item for the ROI of you like not even making it is, 89% higher than the likelihood of you making it onto a national team. So I want to see the particularly the Olympic sports, continue to leverage the resources of colleges to support those players and those families' dreams, because we don't have a system where the government's going to go out and scout the next Michael Phelps, when he's 2 years old, swimming in a pool.
Yeah, and I think something interesting if we look overseas, at Europe and see, oh, what do they do? I mean, many oftentimes are like, how college sports? What is that? And I think a lot of times we see that, they just go straight into professional. We see, and we're starting to deal with that with the NBA. Many of the top players are from overseas because they've been playing professional, basketball since they were 12. And so would that be necessarily a better alternative? I mean, I know there's still some universities with their own clubs and there's still some sports, but just being straight professional, I think this week the G League Ignite team, had to pretty much said this is their last season, team that would straight pay players in the league. And, but so it looks like the efforts to do it here so far haven't worked, but would that be a better system than we currently have?
I think it would be a great addition to the system that we currently have, because again, I want to see more choice for the athlete and their families in the path to get them to where they want to go. So I think overall you will see more of that and more of those experiments, hopefully failing first before they figure out what works. So I'm proud of G League Ignite for trying that. I think whenever, hopefully, Mr. Ball won't be behind any other youth basketball advancements into professional aspects. But like, I want to see the United States keep innovating in the space of maybe college isn't the only path to developing your talents for the professional level and for the Olympic sport level, and for the students that it is, and for the families that it makes sense. I want to see our families and our kids and our parents in particular have that choice, right? And I think the choice is an interesting concept when today you look at a day like when the federal government just suits Apple for lack of choice and monopoly. Like I think college sports, and particularly the development of our athletes for the professional level, that college should not have the monopoly at all on how that's done. And we do need to figure out like the right balance and find the right fit for the right family and their needs depending on that sport.
I know we are running up against time a little bit, but I did want to ask you one question kind of related to March Madness. If you were coaching a pickup game and you have the first pick and you can choose between Caitlin Clark and Juju Watkins, I know you said you're a USC fan, so I don't want you to be biased, but I mean, is there a basketball case? Is Watkins? I mean, is that just obvious choice?
I mean, let me put it this way. Watkins is a legend, and Caitlin is incredible. However, Watkins has a chance to be the newest GOAT out of all basketball rounds. When I tell you by the end of this tournament, you're going to see everyone wearing the Watkins out of Watts t-shirts. Her gear, her jerseys will be sold out. It's got to be Watkins because she's a freshman doing this. She averaged almost 30 points per game as a freshman. It's unheard of. So literally, while I love Caitlin, think Caitlin is currently the best at what she does. Juju's track record and running space there leads me to believe that she's going to smash all of Caitlin's records within at least 2 seasons. So,
All right.
Like I said, I love what this is doing overall for women's basketball. So I'm not a hater at all. Go women's basketball, go. But without being biased, as a pure basketball fan, I am
just watching the tape.
I'm so excited that we have this, but watch the tape. Juju Watkins, by far, would be my number 1 pick if I were to line them up right now.
That's wild. It's going to be something we're definitely going to be tuning into. I think this will definitely be probably one of the first years watching this closely, women's side of basketball. But, we don't want to take up too much of your time here, but we did want to shout out, as a thank you for coming on the pod. And I heard a little bit about GoFundMe that you're supporting child education. And I just want to give you a second to talk about it. And we'll definitely put a link to it in our description.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are several different ways if you would like to support the different elements for child education and educational programs here in Oakland and the Bay as well. More info to come from that, but continue to support our athletes and their many paths to pursuing their dreams, even if their dream is getting a 4-year college degree without going pro. Let's support that too, and let's provide more opportunities for these incredible kids to get their education and really excel on the court, off the court, and in the classroom.
Well, thank you to Alli for joining the pod. It was very, very much a treat. We haven't talked much about college sports, and we got to. It's literally that time of year. It's that, you just got to do what you got to do. But it was very much enjoyable and really nice to have an expert who actually knew what they were talking about.
I know, knows the inner workings of the NCAA. Do we say exposed? Did she expose the NCAA? Uncovered?
A little exposed. But no, it's good. Thank you again. And make sure you check out the link down below. Check out the GoFundMe. Support education in the Bay Area.
Rem and Sam will be making a donation.
Shout out.
IT, write that down.
Write that down. Moving on to our other topics. We got one thing, and guess what? Well, we have all our corners. We got plenty of corners. I feel like our corners are packed. Sometimes I'm more excited for the corners than the.
I know the corners are the best part of the show.
They're kind of popping lately. But that doesn't mean we don't have the main stuff. We still got less than a month till NBA starts to really crack-a-lackin'. NFL is kind of in the doldrums after that crazy blizzard of free agency signings. So now we're kind of into the analysis stage, analyzing who we trust. Rem, what is this "We Don't Trust You" mini draft?
Oh, well, that's the Metro Boomin album. We were going to draft songs off the Metro Boomin album, but you haven't listened to it yet. I just assumed that Metro Boomin is your guy. You're going to be locked in, but
he got me. I am listening to it as we speak, and I gotta admit, it's pretty decent. It is a good mix. Metro Boomin and Future is the combo we didn't know we needed, but are very glad exists. So I will be doing homework, and we will return.
I know we can get back to it.
Well, we will get back to it. Any NBA stuff? Anthony Edwards dunks? I don't know.
Top 5 Anthony Edwards dunks. Do we need to do a Rem
In
and
his head?
Sam's A list? Top
In
5
his
Anthony
head?
Edwards dunk.
I did want to take a quick victory lap on the Pelicans.
Oh, go for
I
it.
kept trying to tell y'all once they get healthy. I don't know, like Zion, they are now let's see, 5th in the West, you know, 4 or 5 games out of the 3rd spot. But, you know, and they did lose their last game against the Magic. Yeah, I think that was like that was since that was yesterday, that was like back to back or 2 games in 3 nights. Anyway, but beyond that, they've been playing pretty well. Had a 3-game winning streak before, and you can start to see. I mean, I think there was a dunk in one of the recent games from Zion where he's really flying, and I think we're starting to see Zion's potential when he's playing. Now that the microscope is off of him, allowing him to get back into his Duke form, and that combined with the length on this team from Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, just all these pieces. I really got to give hats off to the Pelicans. Shout out for just staying the course. And this is something that I just feel like is not emphasized enough on teams, is just stay the course. I know it sucks sometimes, it hurts, but guess what? You have freaking Zion. This is why no one traded him. This is why they didn't just jump ship when all the Twitter warriors were putting up, you know, how many graphics, who knows how many graphics, because you don't go out and get a Zion. And I just am happy for the Pelicans that they stayed the course. They kept Zion. They kept this talent together. And, you know, now they're reaping the fruits. And hopefully, I mean, you know, this isn't a championship level team, but you know, they still have a really good roster top to bottom. And when you have players who have potential, have that ceiling, and they're, you know, you just give them a little bit of time, who knows what can happen.
And this is something I've been thinking about a lot with the Spurs too, because as they go into the offseason, like the Wembanyama timeline with them is real. Like building a contender around this guy, he's obviously already developing into like a top tier superstar level guy. And you're seeing it now with all these other teams, but I mean, really, like realistically, you know, obviously for all these guys, assuming they stay healthy, but Wembanyama probably going to hit his peak mid-20s. So like realistically, when you're a team, you have 4 to 5 seasons to, if you have a superstar, to get a team around that superstar before he's at his peak and like really ready to contend for titles. Because I mean, that's what we're kind of seeing with Tatum this year as well, too, with the Celtics, where they were able to achieve a lot of kind of early playoff success that obviously not a lot of other teams have been able to achieve that do between those two guys. But like really now Tatum and Brown are entering their prime years where it's like, okay, the title window is like fully right now. And yeah, like you're saying, the Pelicans are maybe a step back from all this stuff, but they've let it develop. And I think, yeah, you got to give these times develop, because you also just have to have, if you're going to be a championship level team, you have to have a certain amount of chemistry. We're also seeing that with the Denver Nuggets and the Pelicans. Like this team being together and being able to grow together is allowing them to be able to, you know, get that chemistry. What are the Trey Murphy numbers this season? Your boy's been pretty good. I'm trying to pull him up here. And I feel like the season numbers aren't probably going to justify what he's been lately. Yeah, he's only 37% on the season, but I feel like he's doing a lot better than that as of late. Herb Jones is going to be all defense again this year. And like you're saying, Zion's just been unleashed. So is Zion now, does he take the belt as like as the play yourself into shape, like number one guy, where he's going to start the season a little bit doughy, but then kind of work his way into it?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there. I think your guy, Clendon Johnson, has gotten a little under fire for that. I think
Keldon Johnson?
Yeah, people have been saying might be a couple extra little pounds there. I don't know.
I think Keldon Johnson's just thick.
Hey, you know. Hey, look,
I think Keldon Johnson just does squats.
You know,
leg day for Keldon Johnson.
Lots of leg day, but yeah, I mean, you saw this a little bit with Luka too. You know, but I mean, it looks like, were you asking about Trey Murphy or Herb Jones? So Trey Murphy He had that meniscus tear that stopped him from starting until the December. And then he shot 42% from three, and then he took a couple games off.
Whoa.
And then over the next 2 months of January and February, he didn't shoot well. But this month, he started to turn it back on. So this month, he's averaging 20.7 points and shooting 47.8 from three on
Whoa.
9.9 attempts. And the Pelicans are 12-0 this season when he scores at least 16 points. This man's almost shooting 50% on, bro. For people to understand, like, y'all gotta, like, 9.9, 10 shots up a game and you hit half of them from three is just stupid. Like,
he's been fully unlocked. That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And like when
you said he was 25 a game?
No, 20.7.
Okay.
So, but when he scores at least 16, they win every time. And I just think this team has so many options that it's kind of crazy. Now, the main question is, who could be that legit point guard for them? Because Zion as a point guard does not work, especially in the playoffs. They're just going to sag off him. They're going to find ways to exploit. Defenses will find ways to exploit that. And maybe they'll turn around and find ways to exploit that in the Pelicans with Zion coming downhill. But I do believe, let me see here. Yeah, the Pelicans are top 4 right now in net rating.
On the season?
On the season, yeah. I think since they're also top 6 in defensive rating and top 10 in offensive rating. Well, obviously because their net rating's great. But they've been playing. Yeah, that's a solid 4. The only teams better than them are the Timberwolves, Thunder, and Celtics. So, I mean, that's I'm trying to see here.
They're right above the Nuggets, one spot above the Nuggets.
Yeah, and the gap between them and the Nuggets is as big as
it's only 0.3.
Oh, it's only 0.3. Okay, I was looking at the Nuggets to the Knicks. That's a big gap. But so they're the elite. They're playing like an elite team. They have elite stars. They just need, and we know there's that whole. They had the in-season tournament. They've shown quality when put under pressure. It's just that there was a lot of critiquing during those semifinals. But this team's not out. So I just wanted to shout out the Pelicans. They were my team last year. The Blazers, on the other hand, continue to embarrass me as well, Scoop. But we ain't got to talk about that.
Who would you rather have, Trey Murphy or Mikal Bridges? A 23-year-old Trey Murphy or 27-year-old Mikal Bridges?
Yeah, I think you kind of got to go with Trey Murphy.
Is it so? If the Pelicans want to try to win the title this year, obviously the trade deadline's passed, but
yeah,
is Bridge?
CJ has to be the trade.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah,
you got to trade McCollum for a guard, like a point guard. Monte Morris and picks.
Scoot?
No, oh gosh, no. Malcolm Brogdon, he stays healthy.
He's on the Blazers.
Cade Cunningham?
No, don't go to the Pelicans. It's the wrong team to trade for him.
Yeah, well, I know that's because you want him, but in terms of a partial fan, imagine Cade with Zion and Brandon Ingram, young big 3 in New Orleans, and we know Cade would stick around. I mean, he dealt with the Pistons and hasn't said a thing.
Is Trey Murphy in that deal? Is that Trey Murphy?
No, you got to throw Herb Jones. Maybe.
Really?
What's his name?
Dyson Daniels?
Dyson Daniels, maybe. They still have those draft picks. They can't. They might need to consolidate this team a little bit.
If you were running the Pelicans, would you actually put Herb Jones on the table for Cade? How old's Herb Jones?
Who do you like more, Herb Jones or Trey Murphy?
Well, I think Trey Murphy is obviously a better shooter, more consistent shooter. And like right now he's creating offense at like, he's really breaking through, but
stupid.
Jones is an all NBA level defender. Herb Jones is 43% from three this year. I'll take Herb Jones.
Yeah.
He was wrecking the Nets like a couple games ago, just defensively. He's an all NBA level defender.
He's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't want to trade either of those guys. I do like Dyson Daniels. Like Cade Cunningham, like
you got to give up one of those guys for Cade, though. Cade was the number 1 overall pick.
No, you're telling me you're not taking for Cade. So you're taking CJ in that trade. Yeah,
Why?
CJ would call him.
Cade's on a rookie deal. I don't need the salary.
Yeah, but the Pistons, they'll do some cap space nonsense.
I mean, the Pistons might do something. The Pistons might definitely take him back. I'm just saying, I don't know if I would. If I was like, why would I do that?
You take the cap space. Yeah, so I'd give him I'd probably give him Dyson Daniels.
Let me pull up
Lil
the trade machine.
Dell. What's his face? Who was the guy they drafted this year?
Hawkins?
Where is he at? I don't see him in the roster. Oh, there he is. Jordan Hawkins. Yeah, maybe trade Hawkins out there. Hawkins?
Yeah, he can't even get on the floor. This Pelicans team is.
Yeah.
Pause.
Matt Ryan? Didn't he have a crazy game?
He can shoot. He can space the floor.
This team is so deep. I remember EJ Liddell was getting some love last year.
Okay, so if it's Herb Jones and Jordan Hawkins in picks.
I don't want to give up Herb Jones and Trey Murphy.
Herb Jones, Dyson Daniels picks.
I don't want to give up either of them.
You got to give up. Cade is good.
You got to throw in CJ. You got to put in CJ. CJ, Larry Nance. CJ and Larry Nance. Yeah, get the old guys out of here.
Valanciunas for Cade.
Cody Zeller can't make up Larry Nance's minutes.
Well, yeah, but what did the Pistons get out of this deal? They're trading their best player.
Well, they get out. They can restart. I don't know. They get CJ
with Valanciunas and Matt Ryan.
Yeah, you're right. They're probably gonna have to throw in Herb Jones.
Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram. That's interesting. If he really fell off a rock this year, he keeps being injured.
Do you still like the Brandon Ingram Zion combo together?
No, I never have liked it. I'm never a fan of it.
So in your list of all-time favorite Pelicans combos, it's still behind the DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis combo?
Oh, far behind. That's the all-time, unless Chris Paul. I never watched Chris Paul, so yeah, that's all-time. All-time number one.
Was Drew Holiday and Rondo also on that team together? I think that's another... Drew. There's several duos on that team that Sam likes better than Brandon Ingram and Zion together.
Yeah, that's it. They put Brandon Ingram in that trade.
Brandon Ingram, Dyson Daniels, and picks?
Yeah, done. Ship it.
Can you get Jordan Hawkins?
I don't want to give Jordan Hawkins. If they're pushing it, they want to throw in who's that guy?
That's a ton for Cade.
Fighting out Isaiah or whatever. Isaiah Stewart, yeah.
Throw him in too? Okay, done.
Done. You got Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart for what's his face? Brandon Ingram, Dyson Daniels, and picks.
And no, you said and Hawkins and picks.
Oh gosh. We can't throw in Hawkins too. Okay, that's a lot.
Okay. But you said they're not a contending roster yet. What is the move that needs to happen?
They need a guard. They need someone to actually handle the ball. Unless they want Herb Jones or Trey Murphy. Is Trey Murphy? I don't know. I don't have synergy, so I don't know him off the dribble. But I don't think he's really a playmaker like that. And they need a playmaker, someone just to bring the ball up, start plays.
Let's see if they can get anybody in free agency. It's not like a deep free agent class. Harden, if he doesn't re-sign?
That'd be a great person to sign. Now, would he actually go to New Orleans over LA?
Tyus Jones?
Tyus Jones, yes. Instant sign. I
Conference
love the
finals?
Jones brothers. Jones brothers are my friends. I love them.
Hmm. I feel like that's conference finals. I
What
maybe,
with? Well, yeah. I mean, you're running into Jokic. Like,
yeah, I mean, it is
yeah,
what it is, but
like final form Jokic. Like, I mean, yeah,
final form Jokic.
like is Jokic gonna get much better than this? You saw that one pass he had to Aaron Gordon. He just knew he was gonna be there.
And he had another one to the corner where
Yeah,
he hit like a corner three. And the Gordon pass was with the left hand too.
Yeah.
And it was like straight, it was like straight behind him, which is like, I feel like almost harder to throw because you gotta, you gotta throw that on a line versus sometimes with these one-handed passes, you can kind of wrap it around a little bit.
You can tell the broadcast is so used to it. They'll just keep talking about the thing. I'm like, oh yeah, Jokic passed the ball.
I know that was a local game too. That was one of those center court broadcasts. They were doing we were getting the Nuggets home. The Nuggets announcers are just like, it's just every other play.
I'm like, come on now.
We've seen that before.
Another day, another.
That's just Jokic.
Do you think the Rockets can make the playing game?
How many games behind are they?
2. They're on a
2
7-game
games?
winning streak. I've been seeing they've been creeping up there. Was Sengun holding this team back? Because he was injured and out. And then they started winning. Let me see. Is he still? Yeah, I think since Sengun got injured, this team has started winning.
Do you think it was him? I mean, obviously, Sengun wasn't holding the team back. Like, I mean, we get what you're saying, but is there something between him and Jalen Green that wasn't working quite right? Because that's kind of the thing that's been powering him lately. Is Jalen Green has looked really good.
Yeah. No, he has been cooking.
7 games in a row. 9 of their last 10.
Yeah, I don't.
For the Rockets.
Let's see here if I can pull up the stats here.
Yeah.
Sengun's been Jalen Green has been cooking last 10 games. Yeah, over the last 10 games, he's been averaging 27 points on 61% true shooting, 6 rebounds, and only 2 turnovers. He won Player of the Week after tying his career high of 42 points. I guess the Wizards, but I don't know. He's been making over 40% of his threes off the dribble. So
he's 49.5% for the field the last 10 games. So almost 50%. He looks good and he looks confident.
Almost 80% shooter from the free throw line as well.
Is he gettable?
I mean, last year he was. Now, I don't know. I mean, this is the thing that I am very much a believer in. Wow, he's like shooting threes and running away like Curry against the Wizards. Players play better when they're around good players. Like people play better when you're around good players. When the quality of basketball or any sport is raised around you in terms of how good it is, then that makes you a better player. I think that's just flat out true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're seeing that this year with Jalen Green. He has veterans on this team. You know, Dillon Brooks doesn't care. Like he'll get in your face and he'll let you know. And as bad as some moments have been with Dillon Brooks, he's still a solid player. Like he's not a bomb. Fred Wembley is not a bomb. Like this team has solid guards. And so I think starting to have those expectations of we're a good team, you know, team matters, I think has helped Jalen Green. And I think Jalen Green has just developed as a player as well. But I am happy to see that the 22-year-old, hey, same age as me, shout out. I think he's, now that he has the chance again to get back the reins. I mean, they were taken away from him for a bit. It was like, all right, calm down, buddy. Like this car is about to crash. Like, let's take the wheel here. So now that he's back under the wheel, that gave him the keys again, he started to bring them back into, you know, really a winning way. And so it's crazy. He's been making 69% nice of his unassisted shots in a half court restricted area. So, he's able to I think that's over these past 10 games. So, up from 55% before. So, he's really, you can see his confidence is taking a level. I mean, that shows, driving to the basket on his own, just drives. He's getting confident. His shooting's more confident. So, I mean, so far it's translated to winning, and hopefully it stays like that.
But if you just look at their roster going forward, they got kind of a deep team right now, and they got a couple of veterans on some shorter contracts, Van Fleet and Dylan Brooks. But they got Sengun, Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, and Tari Eason as well too. When he plays, he's a really important role guy for him. So is that just do they say we have 6 guys? That's kind of our core 6 going forward, or could another team swoop in and get one of these other poach one of these guys off their team? The Spurs, we could have 2 first-round picks this year. Could we get Jalen Green? If we get the 3rd pick in the draft, could we get Jalen Green for the 3rd pick?
That is interesting. I don't know. They might hold on to Jalen Green after this run of games. I mean, these are the kinds of runs that makes the team excited for the next year. And if they're able to sneak into the playoffs, it's going to be really hard to prime out of there. And, shout out to Sengun for what he's done this season. But one limitation of his is that he's not really a 3-point shooter. And and him being gone has given the team a lot more space, cleared out that paint. And it's not only helped Jalen Green, but Thompson too. Just having that space in the paint. And I think that's Jalen Green is able to use that speed and quickness because there's no one in the paint. So I think it's just more of a fit kind of thing with Sengun. Poor Sengun's getting, blamed for stuff, which he's played well this year, played great. But we've seen, space and pace is the way the game has gone. And this is the reason why. So it looks like the Rockets do have the tiebreaker over the Lakers, but not over the Warriors, who they're closer with. But regardless, they're literally, the Rockets are blasting off, and we'll have to see if they can reach the play-in orbit before it's too late.
Do we need to extend the play-in game? We need to have a 10-11 play-in game for the 10 seed for the play-in game between the Warriors and the Rockets.
We'll see. Let's see. Who are they
The league
playing?
wouldn't turn it down. I mean, it's more money. How many? So,
okay,
Amen,
so they...
Oh, go ahead.
They do play the Warriors on the 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, so they got the Jazz who've been sinking. They got the Trailblazers who've been sinking.
They're both tanking.
Got the Thunder, they might lose. But then they got the Jazz again.
Tanking.
And then, they got a couple tough teams, the Mavs, Timberwolves. But then they play the Warriors. Yeah, they start... And then they end the season rough because then they get the Heat, Mavs, Magic, Jazz, and then Trailblazers, Clippers. But there's the next couple games. It'll be interesting. I don't know. It'll be crazy if the Warriors or Lakers don't go in the play-in. We don't have Curry or LeBron in the playoffs.
According to Tankathon right now, they have the 12th easiest remaining strength of schedule, so kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Not too bad anyways.
Where are the Warriors at?
Golden State's at 16.
Okay. And the Lakers?
18. All kind of floating in the same range. But how many points per game the last 7 games would you guess Amen Thompson is at?
17.
Yeah, 16.1.
16.1, 15, yeah.
9 shots a game. He's shooting 72% from the field.
Woo!
81% from the free throw line.
I'm telling you, he can get to the rack.
And you said his name, which made me look up his number, because now that when you said it, I was like, yeah, when he plays, there's a spacing thing, and they don't really have, they go with that lineup where it's not necessarily a true 5 out there. Sometimes it's just Dylan Brooks and Amen Thompson flying around and getting rebounds. And I mean, he's 7 rebounds a game as well, too, and he's only playing 26 minutes.
That's huge. That's huge. I wonder what that is per 36. But he is, I mean, he's in that top 5% of athletes. You cannot teach what Amen Thompson has. There's just some stuff.
10.7?
Yeah, that's crazy. So
He's double-digit rebounds. So he's he's a 20 and 10 guy basically per 36.
So yeah, that's why I bring it up. Are the Rockets better without Sengun?
So rank your favorite Rockets of the core guys right now. I don't know if you want to throw. I mean, I guess you could throw Van Fleet and Dylan Brooks in there. Rank your favorite Rockets. Cam Whitmore 1. Who's number 2?
Yeah. I don't know. I have Jalen Green's game. I probably would put Jalen Green 1 actually.
Over Sengun.
Over Sengun, yeah. Honestly, I love Alpi, but this is not 1935. I'm sorry, bro. We're done with the 90s,
Do you like Sengun next to Wemby?
No.
Nah, me neither.
No. But yeah, Jalen Green. I'd probably put
Sengun for Randall?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I put Sengun next. And then I'd put because Sengun is like a baby Sabonis. He knows he can't shoot. So he just
Is he gonna hit another growth spurt? Because if he gets to 7-1, then he might actually be Jokic.
Yeah. But yeah,
and if he moves defensively, is he just too slow?
Thompson? Tari Eason?
Oh, Thompson. Oh no, sorry. I was back on Sengun. Wait, you said Tari Eason
yeah,
third?
No, I know. No. I'd put Whitmore third.
Whitmore third?
Yeah.
And then Thompson?
Why I put Whitmore over Thompson? I don't know. Amen Thompson though. His defense is crazy. I'd put Thompson over.
Oh, your boy Whitmore's at 4th. Just put Sengun. Just put Sengun where your heart wants to put him. I don't know where.
No, I put him at 2nd. He's
okay.
that good. Yeah, he won games. Yeah,
that's true. They were almost a playoff team.
He said, "Make a hot take for TikTok right now. Make a hot take."
Put Sengun 4th.
You want.
The TikTok, it's doing well. We can level up.
Hey, it is.
With Sans Sengun take.